Oh, hey, we're live.
Oh, you put your phone right in front of my phone. You better get up and fix that, buddy. Look at that. Wow. That was,
all right, my bad.
That was cold.
There we go.
Now he's going to act like that was on accident.
That was intentional.
All right, now you're not going to see yourself. You're going to turn it a little more.
I'm good enough. They can see me.
All right, there you go.
Hey,
Hey,
there we
everybody,
go.
it's Uncle Grumpy, and we are here at, what is it called?
Deep Deuce Grill.
Deep Deuce Grill. We had our meeting at the health department. This is, sorry, I forgot again.
Levi Chaffin with Helix Extract.
There you go, Levi from Helix, and everybody knows our buddy Ron Durbin. We had a meeting with the head of the health department. He wasn't the only one there, though. We had about 5 lawyers that they had there, as well as the new director. I don't remember his name. The new
Gary
director.
Cox. Gary Cox.
No, he's the director of the health department.
Yeah, it's Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick, the new director of the OMMA, was also there. It was mostly for them. It was a listening time. They listened to us for over an hour. They gave us all the time that seemed reasonable, I guess. I said it'd be about an hour. It was actually a little more than that. We kind of have mixed feelings on how it went. Let's let one of these guys talk and see what they think. What about
Well, let's let Levi go first. Levi, by the way, everybody that doesn't know, Levi's with Helix Extract. They make extract vape carts, all those kind of things. And Levi was there with Rick DeMint, with Four Kings Cannabis, who's a grower. Rachel Bussett was there. Her law partner was there. Grumpy, myself. And then, like I said, like Grumpy said, like 8 of them, or 10 of them were sitting there in the room. So Levi, what do you think is, from a business owner's perspective, what do you think?
I think that it went very well. I think that they were very receptive in listening to us. Hopefully that they'll actually take some progress towards fixing these issues, especially as us growers and processors. There's definitely a lot of issues that need to be corrected. And really time will tell, see what happens. I think at the end of the day it really was, I'm glad that we were able to meet with them. I'm glad that we were able to voice our opinions and concerns, and I got good vibes all in all. Hopefully time will tell. Again, like I said, we'll see some progress and actually fix some corrections that need to be fixed for us business owners.
Levi, the reason why he had you there, the thing that we needed you to speak on during the meeting, once you speak specifically to that, was about the mold, what to do with cannabis. We're all finding that right now.
Yep.
These outdoor harvests are coming in, and we're finding little bits of mold everywhere. I'm hearing nightmare stories and with people who don't know how to deal with it. Why don't you explain what you were explaining in the meeting about that?
So I'm very blessed that Ron actually invited me to this meeting, and I'm glad that I was able to attend, because I do have a lot of experience hands-on and a lot of knowledge in pesticide remediation, mold remediation, removing unwanted contaminants from our final process or our wanted compounds, which is, making clean products. I knew as a vertical integrated company that I was going to experience possibly crop loss due to pesticides, not necessarily pesticides, but molds, because this was a new market. Oklahoma is new for us, but at the same time, I knew a lot of people were going to be experiencing this. So I wanted to voice my concerns of taking product that is contaminated and being able to remove it. I know from personal experience that pesticides and molds have a chemical structure that can be captured, and it also has a molecular weight different from cannabinoids. THC in particular has a different molecular structure and a molecular weight than pesticides and molds. I wanted to voice my concerns that we can remove those, we can isolate those and get rid of them. And at the end of the day, we can create a clean product that is safe and usable for the end consumer.
Okay, let me get specific. I have a couple questions myself. So what you're saying is that these moldy outdoor harvests, you have a cure for that, basically.
Yes, sir.
And it's a way to turn it into another product.
So as per the state laws say, is if we test product and it shows unwanted or contaminants, we have to destroy that. And
That's the way it's right now.
That's the way it is right now. And I wanted to voice my opinions and concerns that we can remove those unwanted contaminants and create a product that is safe and usable. So yes, from our outdoor crops, we can remove molds, we can remove pesticides or contaminants. It doesn't even relate to that, any is per se, we can convert it into an oil, and molecular weight or structure, capture it, and remove it.
So I these outdoor harvests, and a lot of them having a slight thing straight to the processor, not worrying about this remediation problem yet.
Right.
And we also know that some are getting around that. They're using a clean I know, for example, a grower takes his stuff to a processor, and he's got one clean test within the and it's moldy. You know,
Yep.
What then? I'm bringing this up is sounds like what we should probably see as we get closer to Christmas is maybe a softening or a lowering of the prices of vape products made with, because there'll be an excessive amount of this distillate out there. Am I not right in assuming that?
He's very correct.
Okay, that's just something to note. Just something I just thought of, just to note. So overall, you thought the meeting. Waiting to see if they do any of what we talked about. I guess.
Exactly. Time will tell.
Okay.
So we've had these meetings before.
Yeah.
We all know that. You all know that. We go live about it all the time. It's a question of action at this point. I do one thing I want to make very clear, and we were talking about it before we got on the camera. I think everybody that showed up for the March on OMMA, and everybody that was following it on Facebook and contacting OMMA about it. If you didn't know this, we don't need to be looking for Adrian anymore. There's all those memes that we created about where's Adrian or Adrian from Rocky. Adrian's not there anymore. The director of OMMA is gone, and Travis Kirkpatrick has been replaced her. He seemed very receptive to me to get into this thing. Today he's been in the job 15 days, and one of the things he said, and I appreciated the fact that he said, look. He's like, I'm not going to promise you anything. He's like, when we're going to deliver on things, but we're working towards getting these solutions, getting these problems resolved. I can appreciate that. Gary Cox has only been in the job for 6 weeks. We've got a director in the job for 6 weeks. We've got a director of OMMA in the job for 15 days. I took the meeting as being something that they seemed more so to be open to the idea of wanting to work with industry to develop rules and regulations that make sense, that are sustainable, and that aren't just arbitrary and capricious for the sake of being arbitrary and capricious. And so that's one thing I took out of the meeting that I appreciated. Whether they deliver on that, I mean, again, the jury's out. It's deliberating, and we'll see how they come back, but it's going to be based on their actions. And so hopefully, and I got the distinct impression that they were aware of what goes on Facebook, and that they might watch those things because they knew about a picture that Levi and I took like a couple weeks ago. The fat guy in the little coat syndrome thing. So they're watching, they're paying attention, and the thing we can do is we can keep the pressure on them to keep working with this. And today we took the tone of we want to work with you, and we want to try to help and facilitate a system and a program that makes sense. And now it's up to you to deliver on that. And if you don't deliver on that, then tones change and directions change. But I would love to finally find some people in the government of the state of Oklahoma that actually want to do their jobs and come up with a system that makes sense.
So let me ask you in a little detail, Ron. What I noticed was I saw you accepted their answer and went on as you needed to, but I wasn't real pleased with the legal, with their legal counsel, with what they were saying.
Well, some of
Not that I was upset with them, that's not what I mean, but their determinations I thought were, as we all did, I think, on our side of the table, fell on the wrong side.
I mean, there was the one thing with regards to the owner of a business not being able to get a transport agent on the 2-year residency requirement. But honestly, I think the way the legislature wrote that bill, I can understand that's how they're interpreting it.
As Rachel mentioned, they have to be read together.
They do,
and in a
in a way that makes sense.
Right, in a way that makes sense, basically. And you can't read both those, come up with their conclusion, and still say you read it in a way that made sense.
No,
so that's why I'm concerned. They all seem like great people, but I was concerned about their legal definition. I worry about that.
No, I always worry about how they're going to interpret the laws. And, ideally we'd have an agency that was given sort of broad discretion. Unlike the very specific regulations that the legislature passed, they were given broad discretion to implement their own regulations based on what they need to do, based on what they see day to day on the ground. That's not what the legislature gave them. The legislature gave them over-regulation in a lot of areas where they feel like their hands are tied. And honestly, from their perspective on that one, I see where they think that their hands are tied.
Okay.
Because the transport agent license clearly says 2-year residency requirement, and it doesn't say unless you're an owner of the business. It doesn't say that. So I get, honestly, that's why I moved on from that, because I get their position. I don't like that that's their position per se, but honestly, when you look at it with regards to the law, to me, they're probably right in that they don't have the authority to circumvent that. I wish they did, so we got to fix it with the legislature.
I think that's the second or third time I've sat at that same table and met with some of the same people. Most of those were new people.
They were.
I liked seeing the new people. The new Kilpatrick, or is it
Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick. Sorry if I'm tearing that up. I really liked him. He made a couple of references that were real millennial references. Like he was up on all the high-tech stuff. And we need some of that in what's going on right now.
Where he used that was they were gonna, in the call center emails and stuff, they're gonna actually look at the metadata and the actual content of the emails and pull from those and extrapolate from those the things that people are emailing and contacting them about the most, so they can try to figure out what are the biggest things that people are calling us about.
Yeah.
And by the way, something that we should mention is they have promised they couldn't give us a guaranteed date, but they are working on getting the call center reinstituted and brought back up. That is a huge deal for both patients and businesses. And honestly, they're starting from scratch. They killed the call center under Bates and Adrian Rollins, and so they're trying to get it back in place to where we can get some answers. That's something that's much needed.
It is, and again, as it has to, that's going to take time. And as I brought up during the meeting, one of my concerns is the chaos that ensues between now and then, because we're looking at January before this call center opens up. I think it's going to be a first-rate call center. I have no doubt this guy's going to deliver. But what happens between now and then, and they don't have any answers to that, and I understand why. We have to just keep flailing our arms around for the next couple months. I don't like that.
That's unfortunate. I agree with you. But, at the end of the day, them getting it right as opposed to half-assed is I think, better.
Right.
We can get half-assed answers that are wrong, as we've been getting from OMMA, as we've seen on the packaging answers that say an exit bag or it's okay, which is clearly not under the statute. We can get those bullshit answers, or we can actually get some people that have been trained properly, that know what the heck they're talking about, that don't speak out of turn, that know how they can turn to who they turn to if they're presented a question that they don't know the answer to get, especially when it's a lot, and then get some answers. And one of the things we were promised today that I think was huge is we were promised today for a couple of things. We were told that one of the things I asked for was a release of all the inspection criteria and detailed lists of what these inspectors are looking for when they go to a grow, they go to a processor, and they go to a dispensary. We got no pushback from that. They said, that makes perfect sense. We should have that released. We do that with restaurants. We do that with everything else we inspect. Why not do that with this? We got no pushback from that. That would be a very helpful thing for business owners.
That was good.
And
They did acknowledge that, and they were all over it.
And then, the other thing we talked about is, look, we got these issues with related to packaging or related to testing or these other things, and they've promised us that they're going to start working on an FAQ, frequently asked questions section of the website, to where when they get these answers, we can get an official position from the agency, unlike a response from, Joe Blow, person that's responding to that email account that day. I think that was huge and important. They promised us that that's something that they're going to look into. They didn't seem to have, there was no pushback at all that I got from that.
I didn't know, there wasn't really any pushback on much. No. It was mostly just acknowledging that they are new, that they just walked into this, and that they need a little bit of time, and that's unfortunate.
For a business owner, one thing I do want to mention that is this has been very unclear. So if you're a business owner that's in renewal right now, one of the things that they talked about is that if you submit a renewal and their system rejects you, it gives you an automatic 30-day time frame, but that's not what they're looking at. They're looking at it as you have 90 days from the date of license expiration to get those things cured. So if it gives you on that timeline of 30 days, they're telling me that they won't take action for 90 days, even if you've received a 30-day rejection. And then he literally said, really, they get 120 days from expiration because it's 30 days after that. That's exactly, I wrote that down.
But
I've got my notes in front of me.
Only if it's something as small as like the compliance issue.
Yeah, if you've got a criminal conviction or some other reason why you're not a qualified applicant, then that's a different story. But if it's got something to do with certificate of compliance or something else you can't get them, then really that should be the only thing, from my experience. I mean, we can get everything else we need lined out. The only thing that we're running into issues on is the certificate of compliance. So, to me, that gives us an idea. Because one of the things I've been concerned about is we get these things, we submit a letter, and we get a rejection, and it's like, well, wait a second. Why did you reject it so quick? Now we only have 30 days. We need more time than that to get our CO, to get them to sign a certificate of compliance. They're telling us now, their official position was it's 90 days from date of expiration to get them whatever it is they need to get your license renewed. So that was fantastic news today.
And they're sending out the rejections so that you know what you need to
get.
But
But
they're
they're not
trying to help you. But they're not taking action on it for the 90 days. They're just sending it to you because they acknowledge that in their system, the only way to communicate with you about that license is by rejecting it.
Yeah.
So that's a problem they acknowledge and are trying to look at. So that's good.
Yeah, we talked a lot about, when people submit incorrect documents on an accident or something else, to where they could maybe open up a system where you can pull back that application, correct the issue,
that up where they could, and then we'd be able to add something. Where they just put in others spot.
Yeah. So they seem very receptive to that idea. I think again, 15 days for the new director of OMMA, 6 weeks for the new director of the Department of Health. I think they're on a steep learning curve. But they did seem open to that, and that, again, it was sort of a no-brainer, it seems like. And I got the impression that they didn't really they thought that would help facilitate what they're trying to accomplish. We also talked about working out a system to where they can essentially give conditional approval and say, hey, everything but your certificate of compliance, so we can speed up this process where it's not we're waiting 90 days after we get our certificate of compliance. We can get everything done, and then we do a certificate of compliance at the end when we get it from the governing authority and go ahead and get them to approve it. That'll speed up the process tremendously. One of the things that was something we brought up because of you, Grumpy, we talked about hospice patients and a way to expedite hospice patient applications, and I don't think that was something that they had ever considered.
No, it wasn't. And the gentleman came over and asked me for real numbers of real people. He really wanted to deal with this issue. So he wanted to know, was it 5 a week, 10 a week, 50 a week, what it was. So that was good that he was interested enough to come over and ask me how many hospice patients I personally hear about in this situation.
And that's something that, what our stress is that people are on a timeline in that situation.
Right.
They've exhausted all standard, normal, acceptable medical practices from these hospitals around here. They're kicking patients out for using cannabis. And at that point, this is their last resort. And we need to get them into the system efficiently and quickly because they don't have the time to sit around and wait for their patient license to get approved, and then get a caregiver license approved to get access to medication that might save their lives. I think that was something that I think that we could see some results there.
I think so too. I really do. I think they really felt that one. I think they did.
And it's kind of a no-brainer. It's something we felt good about. Some of the other notes I have, and again, we've talked about a lot, but they're working on, and they're going to look at the issues with regards to remediation of testing results and true strain-specific tests. They're also working on redefining the pre-rolls and whether that has to be from a processor or whether dispensaries can use their shake and stuff to make them, or whether growers can do that. I got the distinct impression that we're going to get something on that pretty quick. They'd already been working on it.
Yeah, I got the impression that they're arguing about it. But when they said, let me just say on that one, that's one we need you to take back to the legislators.
Yeah, they did say that.
So,
they said that.
In other words, that's one they're having difficulty with.
Yeah, whether that's processing or not.
And I want to use that to lead into something here. I think, as I've said many times, the way the government has rolled this out, the way our legislators have handed over what they did to the OMMA, the response from the OMMA, I think all this is more reasons why we need a new petition. And not because we need full rec, or what everybody wants to say, full rec, but because we need full access for everybody without all these hurdles. I know most of these were business hurdles today, but as I've said before, I don't think that the businesses are going to survive if we don't open the doors.
Look, opening the doors is certainly something that should be explored. The voters, it should be put to a vote and see what people want. The one thing I do want to say, and you and I have talked about this quite regularly, I want to say specifically that I really appreciate the work of Scott Beggetter and John Eccles on this program, and we need to continue to work with them on these things. Everything that they've done has been immensely appreciated. Scott's work in Rogers County, or in Wagner County, and in Creek County has been immensely helpful. So I don't want to diminish anything that they've done and say, well, look, we need to circumvent those guys. Those guys are awesome. They're doing a great job, and they're listening. We might not always agree, but they'll at least entertain the arguments.
Well, if we could get them to run for Senate, maybe
well, if we get them,
and
that's the problem. That's the problem. We've got the Oklahoma Senate to deal with, and so, you know, as much as Scott and John work their asses off to try to get this thing right, you know, they get all this pushback from senators who are much less receptive to trying to be reasonable.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make it very clear that I'm, you know, and again, Scott and I have had our differences on 882 and stuff like that, but I don't want to diminish the work that he's done. It's been immensely helpful. But this full access or adult use or whatever you want to call the petitions, I think honestly, if it was, we need to see what the voters want, and if nothing else, we need to put pressure on the legislature to realize that they have a distinct choice here. They can either start acting accordingly to what the will of the people was when they voted in 788, or they're going to take it out of their hands. And me personally, as a libertarian, I love the government not having control over my life, so I'm all for the people voting in what they want.
I think with where we are positioned in the country and with what's going to happen in the federal government soon, we're the tipping point. So for reasons greater than even our own, we need to get in front of this.
Yeah.
Okay? If we can get Oklahoma to run a full access petition and pass it, then the federal government will have no choice but to do something. Because the first thing that will happen is Texas will go, oh no, what do we do now? Now I'll tell you what, I had lunch or dinner with some people last Friday from Texas that were up here exploring the business here, and they tell me they're meeting with the governor down there already, and so the legislator in Texas is already working on something. Don't know what it's going to be. I spoke to some people in Kansas, which happens to be where you have family from, and Kansas, as you know, doesn't have it, and they don't have a process either. But I was speaking with some people this week, and they're working on something that they want no smokable flower. In fact, I posted a news story. No, the news story is somewhere else. But Kansas wants the same thing, no smokable flower, but they want, the way they're writing it, me from Oklahoma, since I'm allowed flower, as long as I'm only carrying what I'm allowed to legally carry, I can still pass through their state. If I get pulled over, I'm going to be let go. But if you get stopped with flower, if you live in Kansas, you would get arrested.
The logic of a government.
Exactly.
I swear to God, the logic of a government.
So look, we have, if Oklahoma could pass a petition to go for full access, then all these states around us, which is pretty much the center of the country, have to do something. And then what's the federal government going to do?
I mean, they had to do something. Unfortunately, they're too intertwined in some other dealings right now to be focused on actually being a lawmaker and doing their damn jobs.
Oh, you mean the ones in Washington?
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones in Washington.
Yes.
So, you know, I never count on what the hell they're going to do, because you never know from day to day. But, you know, circling back to this meeting with the Department of Health, Tom Bates he always seemed like the consummate, I don't know why the hell I'm here guy, and I don't want any of this on my shoulders.
Yeah, he didn't seem bothered by it all.
I didn't get the impression from Gary Cox that that was going to be his stand. Look, I didn't get the anti-cannabis feel that I got from Tom Bates. It was Gary's was, hey, look, this is the law. We're going to figure out how to implement it and do it in a way that's efficient, that's organized, and I hope to God that he does that, and that we get a program that makes sense. Is it going to take them some time? I think it's obviously going to take them some time. Are we going to hold their feet to the fire and make them accountable for it? Yes. Did they seem receptive? I mean, they seem like, and we said, you want to go toward processors? You want to go toward growers? You want to go toward dispensaries? You let us know how many you want to go toward. We'll get you into everyone you want to go toward, get you the inside track to every problem and every issue that's going on. And they seem receptive to that. So we'll see if they actually take us up on that offer. That'll be the sign to me, Grumpy and Levi, that they're serious. If they start touring for purposes of educating themselves, Oklahoma-based businesses, that will show to me that they're serious about this and they want to get educated and they want to learn.
You know, last year before the health department rolled out the no flower and all that, you know what they did to get educated?
They went to other states.
They went to Denver for a weekend.
No, I know.
All the ladies went to Denver for the weekend. That was it.
On the state's dime. Yeah. No,
great.
And you got all these businesses in Oklahoma, and you're sitting out all these, these inspectors from the local health departments to inspect. But if the director of OMMA has not toured more dispensaries, grows, and processors than I have, That's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big problem. I saw one of them come up and tell you he was going to contact you about touring your place. Hopefully they'll do that soon.
And I welcomed him. I said, I'd love to give you a tour of our facility. I believe that we're doing things right, and we'd love to show you that.
All right, well, anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, I gotta go get a tire in my vehicle, or 4 new tires, I guess, since the one blew on the way here. So I'm gonna go deal with that. As always, it's exciting in the state of Oklahoma when it comes to cannabis and medical cannabis in the state of Oklahoma.
Levi, you want to add anything?
Grumpy, Ron, Durbin, great people. Definitely doing great things for this industry in this state. I'm glad to be a part of it.
And check out Helix extract. Client of mine, so I'm a little biased, but I've toured his facility. You saw the post a couple weeks ago. You can eat off the floor. It's so damn clean in that place, and I'm a germaphobe. And I still probably would pick up a fry I dropped and eat it. So check them out. Check them out.
A larger lab jacket.
Okay, good. Thank God.
All right,
no more Tommy boy.
So we're going to wrap this up here. Again, had a good meeting with the health department today. Hopefully it leads to friendships that go beyond this, so we can help them get this right. I still say we've got to. There was too many times when they said you've got to take that back to the legislator. All this tells me we've got to take it out of the hands of the government. So
especially
full
the
access,
Senate. Especially the Senate.
Hashtag full access 2020. Be sure and put that out there. Okay, we'll be coming with that soon. All right, folks. That's it from, where are we? From the Deep Deuce Grill. Until next time, stay grumpy.
See you later, everybody. Stay safe.